Well, I took a break from my YouTube publishing just to take a trip out to Eagle, Colorado, to help a family member. The challenge in getting to Eagle this time of year is you have a long drive across Kansas where there can be blizzards, snowstorms in the Denver area, which we're having right now, or we can fly. And when we travel, we fly as non-revs. The day that we'd picked out to fly, unfortunately, was covered with snowstorms, which blocked all the flights getting in, which meant that after they canceled those flights for the day, the next day all the flights were booked solid with people still trying to get to the Eagle County Airport. So we lost 2 days right off the beginning of this trip. But the good news is when we decided to go, we got a break in the weather. When we got there, our original rental car was going to be a Toyota Camry, but because of the heavy snow from the previous couple days, we decided to rent a four-wheel drive vehicle, which turned out to be a very smart decision. We had a Jeep Cherokee. Now, a comment about the Jeep Cherokee is it's supposed to be capable off-road. We just barely made it up the driveway to my mother-in-law's house. And I've got some photos here. When the blade had come through to scrape the driveway, they dislodged a fairly large boulder and left a hole in the driveway. Now, that isn't a fault of the blade operator because it was under about a foot of snow and he couldn't see what he had dislodged. When we got there, that was the main challenge for us to get up a fairly steep hill. Normally, the hill's not that steep, but when it snowed and you combine the snow with the refreeze, the ice, it's pretty slick. I was not very impressed with the Jeep's four-wheel drive performance. I did use the snow mode, and it worked okay, but we still had to make 3 attempts to get up the hill. Later, we used my mother-in-law's Venza, and it just did a whole lot better, even though it's all-wheel drive. But Toyota has one of the best variable torque management systems in the industry, and that just worked beautifully. However, we needed the ground clearance because you can see the boulder that I dug out here was quite large, and I actually had to rebuild the driveway, bring in rock and gravel from other parts of the area, fill in the hole where the big boulder was. At my age, I'm in my 70s, moving rocks around, particularly the one the size of the boulder that was dislodged, was a little bit challenging. But in my family, we grew up with a wheelbarrow, picks and shovels and pry bars, so I was able to move that rock out of the way and then get a satisfactory fix. Throughout the time we were there, it was beautiful, but the weather was changing. We were starting to get a thaw going, and I'll have the scenes in the actual videos. But the initial challenge was just getting there in the first place because of the full flights, and then a couple days of fairly heavy snowfall. My mother-in-law had over a foot of snow the very first day where they canceled all the flights. So anyway, come along and enjoy the beauty of this trip. the Rocky Mountains is just absolutely magical. When we first got here, that wasn't more than a few days ago, there was several feet of snow on this driveway, and I came down and made it an effort to improve the surface. I brought in some gravel and trying to get over it so you can see the turkeys. Whoop, there came one right out of the tree. So anyway, the challenge is sometimes with the clay soil here, when we get a little bit of a melt, you know, it needs to be dressed up. But actually, I came down here with a shovel the other day and dressed everything up, and it's holding up really well. Now, what I want to show you is, no matter what part of the country you're in, no matter how cold it is, there are Canadian geese. And so if you look in the pond, there's some beautiful Canadian geese down there that are enjoying the beautiful scene here. And by beautiful, I mean it's quite lovely. I'm going to see if I can continue to film as we come down here. And just sharing a place that's been part of our family for a lot of years. And one of those things that's just absolutely beautiful. And so I'm going to continue to walk. Hopefully that I can stabilize this footage enough that I don't have my gimbal with me or anything like that. This iPhone's amazed me in the past. So as we come down, you can see the challenge that the snow here can amount to. You can also see the runoff as everything's starting to melt. I have to be a little bit careful because the wet soil is actually slippier than the ice. And there's a mated pair of Canadian geese in the pond. Come around here, it's as my wonderful father-in-law used to say, it's a beautiful, beautiful day at Brush Creek. And I just about slipped in the ice, sorry about that. I'll show you where I'm standing in. It's the runoff that's melded and then refrozen. So I have pretty good traction on these boots, but I have to change locations. It's a beautiful vantage point, but it's pretty slick. And as you can see, that's just a solid sheet of ice. And I just have to be very, very careful on my footing here standing on ice. Beautiful place, but I think I'm going to move out to a little safer location. Killing yourself for the sake of YouTube or getting hurt is just not worth it, but it's certainly a beautiful location. This pond over here is still frozen solid, so it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Just want to show you what roofs look like in the Rocky Mountains when you have a lot of snow melt going on. We're going to be knocking that weight off because it's finally thawed out. But if you like icicles, those are pretty treacherous icicles. But we'll knock those off from a distance at first. In a deep thaw right now. When I first got here, their icicles were hanging off all the buildings, sometimes 5 and 6 feet. I'll try to get a photo of that in the next video.